and we are live tonight on Instagram and on Facebook. How
Yeah.
are you guys doing this evening? This is Love in 60 Seconds. So glad to have you guys here tonight and look forward to chatting with you and talking with you. Hope you've had a great week.
Weekend because today's Monday.
Yeah, weekend. It is Monday.
It's
Yeah,
Monday all day, and it has been a Monday because I am like super tired still.
speak up. You
I don't want to speak up. They need
gotta
to be able
speak
to
up.
hear me.
Yeah, I gotta
I,
heal you.
that too. Heal me and hear me.
All right, we
Both.
are good. It's a great Monday, and we're happy to be here. Hopefully, as we're waiting for people to come on, we have a great topic tonight. To talk about. Definitely want you guys to interact with us, and we got some of your DMs and ideas from last week, and we put something out on Facebook that we think, or on social media that we thought was interesting to talk about. We're going to hit some of those topics this evening.
Mhm.
And also, we're going to do one of our giveaways, finally, another giveaway for all our faithful people who have been signing on and hanging with us. So we'll talk about that a little bit later in the broadcast.
Yep.
So we're just waiting for people to sign on, and once again, we invite you guys to watch us and share this poll or share this podcast even after it's been live, and share it with your friends, and hopefully you get a chance to watch it with your significant other or your spouse.
Absolutely. Or the one that you think maybe your spouse at some point.
Mhm.
It's not just for the married people tonight. Well, it's never really all exclusively for married people, even though we talk about marriage topics. Um, it's for those that are going through the vetting process of possibly seeing or talking to someone that they're thinking about marrying or having a committed long-term relationship with, or of course marrying. So we want to talk a little bit more about that tonight. We do talk about that all the time, or incorporate it all the time, but we want to talk more about it tonight. We don't want to have to do a whole lot of small talk, because we know that a lot of you guys, whoa, a lot of you guys have um, DM'd us and talked about, the things that you want to talk about. So we want to get right into it, and we want to make sure that we are doing what we need to do. So we're going to be talking about, um, I guess, did you marry the wrong person? We did a um, kind of a poll, and then we did a little marketing and to see what people were thinking about that, and we had some very interesting responses to that. And basically, do you feel like there's a such thing as a soulmate? Do you feel like there is one person that's floating around the world out of all of these billions of people, and that person belongs to you? Do you believe that? So that's something else that we're going to be talking about tonight. And then we're going to be talking about the vetting process, how to understand whether or not a person is for you, and then how do you understand if you can really be confident that the person that you are married to is for you.
Right. And I guess one of the reasons of this topic was, if you saw our video that we put out over the weekend, was Will Smith was talking about how him and Jada, their relationship started, and how how he was married to his previous wife, and some of the emotions and things that he went through, how he felt about divorce, and just those overall topics. And it was really interesting statements that he had made, and it was sort of emotional, and wanted to get your ideas and your thoughts on what you thought about, if you feel like you married the right person. Like my wife said, do you believe in soulmates? Even from a worldly perspective and from a biblical perspective, and just and get your views. So continue to go ahead and type in as you guys sign in, and we want to hear what you have to say tonight.
Absolutely. So we basically, again, as he mentioned about Will Smith and about what he said, there was a lot of things that were admirable about what he said. He didn't believe in divorce. He wasn't interested in getting divorced, even though he felt a connection with somebody else outside of his marriage. Now you can dissect that however you want to. We're not going to really talk about that. But again, he did have some admirable qualities about his belief system and what he believed, but he was very honest about what he felt. So, Will Smith, he said he had a conversation with Jada. He was married to his, former wife. And after that conversation, he felt deeply that he was not married to the right person. Um, that being said, that's a very interesting topic, a very interesting vantage point. So we want to get right into the discussion of that, and then people can, as they come on, we can, basically respond at that point. So, what does it mean, really, to marry the right person? You want to give us a little insight on that?
Well, I mean, that's the major question. How do you know if you married the right person? What does it mean? What are some of the qualities that you think the right person should have?
Mm-hmm.
I do believe that that person should always enhance who you are
Mm-hmm.
and what you believe and the person inside of you. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's one thing. You should always be an enhancement to the wholeness of the other person.
All right. So,
Mhm.
you should be enhancing, or that person that you're looking at should bring out the best in you, not bring out the worst in you.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
true.
If you are, if that person is having you do things that is not the best,
Mhm.
um, then you should definitely examine your relationship. Um, let's
I
see.
think also that person should be a person that should be a coverer,
Mhm.
whether it's covering your faults, covering your insecurities. Should always be a person that covers those things instead of bringing them out or bringing them to light.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So that person should not always be pointing a finger at your faults.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, not saying, "Oh, you never do this," or "You should at least do this." We talked about that last week about things that men and women don't like.
Right.
Um, you know, that person should definitely um, cover your. I mean, they may bring certain things to your attention, but they should definitely cover what it is that you are. Where you're weak or where you have faults.
Yeah. Also, I think knowing that you married the right one, that person should always make you feel comfortable. Should
Hmm.
always make you feel like whenever you see them, you just know this is the person I'm comfortable with. This is the person that, oh man, that just does everything for me.
Hmm.
If you're on edge or you worrying and they're just always edgy about that person, you might want to do a bigger vetting process on making sure that person is the right one you want to spend the rest of your life with.
100%. 100%. And so we're going to go through, and again, you can share this. You can like it. You can comment later. You can DM us later with regard to this. But this part is for those that are single. For those of you that are single, you should have a vetting process when you are. My bishop calls it when you're collecting data, when you're dating someone and you're collecting data. And sadly, and I've been through it myself, before I got married. Sadly, you really want, especially like for women, and I'm just speaking for women and speaking from something that I experienced. Now, I've never had a problem dating people ever. My biggest problem was like just having a roster of people that I was dating. That was just not good, just not being good to people in that manner, because I was not going to be committed to anybody. So I was like, I'm young, I'm cute, I'm free, I can date how many people I want to date, and they can buy me whatever they want to buy. They're not getting nothing from me, but I'm going to take whatever I can from them. Totally not cool. But you get to a place where you're like, okay, I really want to be in a committed relationship. I really want to, I see marriage in my future. I really want to be a part of that community, the marriage community. And it really begins to things begin to change within you. And you know a lot of women that I see, and I talked to one of my friends about this, and she was like, yeah, you can tell when somebody is like internet dating. You can tell when they're internet dating because of how they post, what they post on their Facebook page, what they post on their Instagram, what they post on their Twitter, the angles that they post. And and it's really kind of like a sign of thirstiness. It's a sign of thirstiness. And then a lot of times women are just in a place, especially unfortunately church women are in a place, a lot of times they just want somebody to marry them. They just want somebody who's willing to say yes, that's not just beneath their standard. You know what I'm saying? But what we may look like, or that package may look like initially, may be something amazing, and we have not vetted them to know that what's in them is amazing.
So how do you vet somebody?
All right. Well, one of the things, and we were just kind of doing some searching around, and we were kind of coming up with some ideas of what is a really good fail test. And one of them is the how do you go? if they leave the airport test. The airport test. He's got to stop yawning. It's 9 o'clock at night. We're gonna start coming on at like 7 on another day because he yawns at night. And then hits me when I call him on it. See, this is love in 60 seconds. Stop. All right. So the vetting process, the airport test. If you can imagine yourself taking that person to the airport, dropping them off, and will you really genuinely miss that person? Does your heart say, oh man, I don't want to miss this person? Oh my gosh, this person is really I don't know. He I want to see this person again. Or once you drop that person off at the airport, you like deuces. I'll see you later. Right. If you feel like that and you don't really feel that, like you would feel any emptiness, that person, he or she has already now passed that test. That's just not what it is. Another thing is, do you feel safe and secure in a relationship? You can kind of expound on that.
Well, what we sort of discussed earlier, making sure if you are in a relationship, or especially in the dating process, and not your spouse, your significant other is a person that, when you're out, doesn't always give you the full attention. I mean, when you're dating, you're usually putting your best foot forward, and even a little bit more, even sort of a facade of everything that you want to be, that you could be, that sometimes you may not be all the time.
Right.
And so if you're in a dating process and you're looking to see, well, is this the right person for me? And that person in that vetting process is not really into you, or not really just giving all their attention, that to you in that courtship, then maybe their motives are just are different. They might not be looking for the same thing you are if you're desiring to have a relationship that leads to a lifetime commitment. And so, especially in men, men just, they are really, we get the terms of being dishonest or being dogs or whatever, but really a man is going to, if he is interested in you, then he's going to pursue you.
Yeah.
And that's why even when the Bible says, a wife should hide herself, it's because a man's tendency is to conquer, to go out there and get and bring in. But when he finds that wife, the one that he really desires, he pursues her. And he'll continue pursue. If he's not pursuing you, and if he's not giving you all the time, if you brush him off and he's okay with it, then you're probably not his number one choice. And from a man's perspective, you have to, and for a woman, you have to know what a man likes. You have to know where his time is spent, what he's doing, if you're looking to take it to the next commitment. Because if not, he's just your friend. Or he's just your, whatever. If you are in a relationship that is physical, he's just your physical buddy, or if it's just a relationship that's just emotional, that's your talk buddy. But when he pursues you to the point where it's something that he desires, because now you're his treasure, and that's where his heart is, then that person is somebody that you might be able to say, you know what, this person has that type of interest in me, and he has these other characteristics that I like. Now I know that's somebody we should continue to, maybe, for a man, I want to take it to the next level.
Absolutely. That was really a lot. Hello, everybody. Hey Jessica. Hey, James. Hey. Oh, hey. Who is that? Oh, James Price. I can't read the other one because I don't got my glasses on, but it's good. Sure. Hello, everyone. Yep. But again, we're talking about the vetting process when you're single, and then we're going to talk a little bit later about when you're married, how to ensure that you are with hey Tony, that you are with the right person. So again, the vetting process, we talked about, if you pass the airport test, if you drop that person off at the airport in your mind, and you can envision yourself just saying goodbye, or if you feel like, man, I'm gonna miss that person if I'm dropping him off at the airport and he's going and then he's never coming back, then that's, if you feel like you're going to miss that person could be the one for you. If you've given them the deuces, the fingers, then no, he's not the person for you. And then if you feel secure in the relationship, if that man is pursuing you, also if that woman is giving you space to be there in her life, and giving you ownership in that space, then yeah, that's somebody that you can probably continue to pursue if there's other qualities that we're talking about. Work. We do want to hear from you guys though, what your thoughts are. But right now we're talking about the vetting process. But you can chime in your questions, you can chime in your comments, and we're going to be responding to those as well. And we also have a poll, so you can take a look at that as well. So another thing that you can use when you're vetting a person that you think may be that one for you is do you feel that you really can't pinpoint problems in the relationship, meaning like you go through stuff but you be like, oh, with this person, this is what's wrong with that person all the time. If you really can't pinpoint that, that's the part of the vetting process. If you just like, okay, sometimes the relationship may be uncomfortable, but for a fact that you still want to be in that relationship, then that's a good chance that you should be in that relationship. All right. So the next one, if you're both always willing to work at the relationship.
Yeah, it goes to sacrifice. And once again, as far, and I'm speaking to women, how men think, a man is going to put in time and going to put in whatever he feels is valuable. So, if a man, when you're dating or whatever, is, and we're not talking about personalities, not talking about, some people are more romantic, some people are more outgoing or something, but if a man is not showing the interest in you, it. I mean, women have great discernment, but it's just honesty. If a man does not pursue you, or if he's just with you because you have a nice car, or you can provide him something that he can use, then you have to know that person is a taker.
Yeah.
And that person is using you because you're providing a service to him, whether it's sex, whether it's money,
living with you,
sharing your stuff,
sharing your car,
all that. If you're in that type of relationship, which is okay to help people and be a blessing, absolutely. But when that person never gives back, never sows into you, and sows into, it doesn't have to be the same as far as giving you money, but if he's not sowing into you his heart, his commitment, his feelings, telling you who he is, showing you that he is more than just what happens to be at the time, then that's a man's wired to take like that, because once again, he's wired to conquer. So if you're in that vetting process, you just need, you got to look past how handsome he is, maybe what his physical things are, how well he talks, how well he preaches. If he doesn't have that commitment to you, then he's not the right one for you.
Absolutely. I'm 100% agreeing. Again, for me speaking to men about women, how we feel, if she is not giving you that space, if she's not really giving you that public ownership, and that goes both ways for men and women. I think you mentioned that as well. It's okay to love me in private, but you got to love me in public. You got to own me in public. If you're not owning me in public, because I see this happen all the time, especially in church environments, which is so crazy. People don't even want to own who their boo. You 100% their boo wherever, when you're not in front of people. But when you get out in front of people, then they don't own you.
Right. And we're not talking, because, there's always been a stigma about dating in the church. And I'm like, well, how do you get married if you don't date?
Right.
So we're not saying that it's appropriate to be all snuggled up, covered up.
No, not booed up.
Right.
No,
or whatever,
right.
But if if this person is just, after a while, if he's just still coming and, he's just like, oh, that's my friend or whatever, that's what it is. You guys are a friendship, and you need to have that discussion. What is your interest in me? What is, you have to ask that hard question, because a lot of times with men, if you don't challenge us, or if we're comfortable in a situation and you don't check us, be like, what is your intention? What do you think of me? If we don't have an intent to do anything else, we'll let it ride for as long as we can.
Yeah.
We won't, if you don't make us comfortable. But then again, and it's sort of unfair, but if you make us ask the question, it's not always because maybe a man is just not thinking about it. Sometimes he's not thinking about that, to the point to where he's like, you know what, I like this person, I'm committed to this person, that's enough. And he doesn't think, well, a woman especially young men, not think a woman needs to know
Hmm.
that, like you said, show that public affection, show that commitment to promise. So there is a vetting where you have to ask those questions so that you're not wasting your time.
Absolutely. The next thing is don't be that you're not afraid to disagree with that person. When you feel secure in a relationship, you don't have a problem with, like, hey, you know what, I don't agree with this, or bringing something to their attention that's not cool. If you feel afraid to do that, like if they're going to leave you,
Mm-hmm.
if you say something, then, you know, that's just, I don't know, it's just a sign, I think, that that person may not be the right person for you. So,
Right.
hey, Deborah and LaShanta and Lisa.
Yes, everybody, we appreciate you
Yep.
joining in. So,
Okay, so then again, not afraid to disagree with that person. The sixth thing is you accomplish things with that team dynamic. When you conquer things, you face things head on, um as a team, as a unit, that gives some cohesiveness to the relationship. You got a problem, you guys got an issue, and you reach out and you conquer it together. That's a
hmm,
good sign that that person is the one for you.
right, definitely. And it's something that, it that's why you really shouldn't rush into anything. You should
Hmm.
always take your time and then be prayerful, and because when you're in a marriage, is like I said, the foundation is God.
Hmm.
And then there's man and woman. So you don't want to rush into something because, once you make this commitment, it's a lifelong journey.
It is.
And a lot of people, maybe sometimes, because I do believe you can
Hey,
at
Angela.
some point, and we'll talk about this just in a second. Sometimes people do rush into it and may not have vetted that person, and now you're in a committed relationship. And if you are a believer and you have Christian foundations, there's certain areas that you just can't say, I'm gonna get a divorce, I'm gonna quit,
Hmm.
because that's not really our beliefs for just not working things out. So the easier point, instead of being miserable sometimes, or then having to believe God to be the healer, to be the adjuster, to make things right, make sure you vet that person before you say I do.
Absolutely. If you do a good job at vetting before you do that, then hey, you know what I'm saying? It makes life a little bit simpler. But if you did not do that, and to end that portion of how is the vetting process, your strengths and your weaknesses complement each other. If your strengths and weaknesses complement each other, like, there's so many things that I'm great at that my husband may have a deficit at. There's a bunch of things, so many things that he's great at that I 100% need his help in, and he lifts me up. He helps me be a better person. He helps me accomplish greater goals. And I shared my testimony before about when we were looking for a home. And I was really okay with just like a little 3-bedroom, entry level little house, a little small house. Uh, you know, for our little family, it can be a little ranch style and didn't even have to have a basement or anything like that. Maybe 1,000 square feet. You know what I'm saying? I felt like that would be great for us to have a home. I was just happy to have a house. He was so not there. He was looking at communities and things that were just, in my opinion, just far beyond what I thought we could do, far beyond what I thought we could afford, far beyond what I thought, just far beyond what I thought. And I never forget, I was in, well, he called me on the phone, and I had a vision of where this beautiful house that I was going to live in, and I was just like, oh wow. And he called me on the phone. He's like, I found the place that we're going to build our house, and I was like, build our house? We're going to build a house? And he said, yeah, I found this place. And when I stepped in first of all, when I drove into the community, I was like, these are some big houses. Oh my God, we're not going to be able to afford to live out here. And then when I went into the model home that he took me into, my jaw just dropped. And I just wanted to hit the floor because it was so beautiful and so much more than what I could have thought that I could have had. But because of his faith in that area just pushing me, it made me go to another level in my faith. And then ultimately God blessed us to build the house that
and
we wanted.
and plenty of testimonies of how, either the other way around, how even when my faith has wavered, you have pulled me up and kept me strong and been that helpmate. So now transitioning, so I believe, because we said some of the qualities that my wife has, that she is an enhancement to me, she's a blessing. The Bible says that she is my favor. I believe she's my treasure. I believe that I am married the right one. So now we want to talk about what do you believe, and we want to hear you guys, type, maybe say, if you are you married to the right one, but more or not.
Don't say it if you're not. Just don't comment. This okay.
More than, well, what is the right one, which
Yeah.
we sort of talked about.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you feel maybe you're in a spot in a relationship where you're not, how do you fix it?
Mm.
How do you change it? How do you believe, as we come from a Christian foundation, how do you believe that God can fix it? Or do you believe that divorce is the answer? If you just say, you know what, I'm not married to the right one, I believe my soulmate is out there, is that acceptable? And then honestly, we talk a little bit, I actually want to talk about what's a soulmate. That's not really a biblical term.
That's right. That's the question I want to ask. Is a soulmate, is that something that's biblical, or is it just something that is something that society just kind of put out there?
Right. And society's view is that there's one person, one perfect person for you out there out of the billions of people out there. And then even if that soulmate is not that one person, a lot of people will use that as an excuse to say, you know what, because you're not my soulmate, you're not that one perfect person, I want a divorce. I don't want to be with you. And, the world tends to use that as an excuse. And I really was like, I couldn't find anything biblical to say that, to where Christ said that one person is a soulmate because he or she is out there. Now he has a response to that, how you become soulmates. But it's not really a biblical principle. We like to know, do you believe? And then how do you find that one person? I do believe in what the Bible says, that what God has joined together, and the two people that come together because you are together, now you become soulmates. So I don't really believe biblically that you have to find your soulmate. But now you can marry the wrong person, maybe, because you have free will, you make mistakes and all that. But even in that instance, I believe there's a fixture, and then there is a pressure. So we're challenging you today that, as you say, hey, the person I believe God has blessed me with. And if my relationship is not perfect, we have some solutions to say, let's move forward. Let's trust God to fix these things.
Angela says that God gives us our mate and society gives soulmates.
That's very
absolutely
good.
That's very good. That's very, very true.
And basically that's just what we're going to say. Whoever you're married to, and our belief as a Christian belief is your soulmate. And that's because, the Bible declares, and Mark, he says that a man will leave his father and his mother and be united to his wife, right?
Right.
And the two shall become one flesh.
Right.
And so they are no longer one or two, but they're one.
Yeah. God's math is not like man's math. 1 + 1 = 1 in this case.
Right. And so they're not to be joined together. They are to be joined together and let no man separate. So when a husband and your wife are united, they're one flesh. They're no longer two, but they're one, and they're joined together. So when you're joined together, that becomes your soulmate.
I agree.
So my wife, to me, is the perfect fit for me, but she became my soulmate because we entered in that relationship in the holy matrimony under God's covenant. And I think when you do it in that way and that belief, then that covenant guarantees your soulmate.
Absolutely, because God gives us free will. He gives us free choice. And, he definitely gives us the opportunity to select what, he deems is good for us. You know what I'm saying? He can bring a number of people that have very similar qualities. And he can give you the opportunity to choose. You know what I'm saying? They have very similar qualities that are compatible with you. But then when he sends you that right person that has all of those qualities and that compatibility, that's his gift to you. And then once you agree and you get married, then that person becomes your soulmate. Because and this is my opinion, if there's, out of all of the billions of people in the world, there's only one person that's your soulmate, then if you don't find that one, or if that one, he is not in the place where he or she needs to be spiritually, just becomes a buffoon, then your soulmate, you don't get a soulmate. You don't get nobody to express deep love with, and be on the same page with. That is so not true. God is, listen, he is of the resolve that one monkey don't stop no show. Did I say that already? One monkey does not stop no show with God. Right. He will send you someone else who is going to be that person for you.
Yeah. And that person, that soulmate, has those qualities that we talked about earlier. They should enhance you. They should build you.
Yeah, like Lisa, she says her husband has helped to be her. She feels like she made the right choice because her husband has built her up and helped her be the person that she is today, and that's a blessing.
Right. And all those things. That's part of it. Now, we know that marriage has ups and downs, and it has issues. And when you have that soulmate mentality, when things go wrong, your mind will be, well, oh man, maybe that's not the person for me. Maybe that's not,
Or if you find somebody else that's fresh in that moment, and you have a great conversation with somebody, or you have great conversations with somebody else. Yeah, just because you have great conversations with other people and you feel some kind of connection, that does not mean that now that person's your soulmate. That doesn't mean that. You know what I'm saying? But but let me interject and pause to say here, that is also not a reason to stay with somebody who is not going to stay with you. If they leave you, you know what I'm saying? If they just have God said, if they harden their hearts and they leave, then, that's, you let them go. Or if they commit adultery or with those kinds of things, there's a number of things that God is saying, okay, you don't have to deal with that unless you choose to. And if you do, then I will definitely come in and heal and do a great work. But, those things, they do happen.
Right. Because when you look at the biblical references of what God loves and what he hates, one thing they said he hates in the Bible is divorce. He said that he hates that, but because the hardness of men's hearts, he granted that to Moses to allow that out. But God in the New Testament said that, even though that is the case, it's only because of their unbelief. There are certain issues that that you can come out of, but his desire is for you to stay in it, because remember, marriage is a symbology of the relationship between God and us, the church. And when you separate from that and depart from that and separate, for reasons that are really basically are out of God's will. So he gives us examples in the Bible about, basically, all right, listen here, I don't desire this for you, but if you really have to do this, here's an out for some reason. But now that you've done it, there's certain things that you can and cannot do, because they talked about, basically being, if you are divorced, you're not supposed to marry again and do all these other, for certain reasons and all those things. So what we're saying is that the divorce really, for a believer, and unless you're being, in a emotional relationship where you're being, physically abused, emotionally abused, and certain things, we also believe that God is able to do abundantly and exceedingly more than we ask for. Absolutely. Meaning that he can mend broken hearts, that he can fix relationships, that, the believer, because he also said the believing spouse sanctifies the unbelieving spouse.
That's right.
So if you are in that type of unequally yoked situation, your belief can change the heart of your spouse. And I believe you talked about that last week, about how loving your spouse into a relationship, loving them back home. So we're challenging you today to say, you know what, divorce usually is not the option, even if you haven't married the right one, because God can make that person
absolutely
the right one.
He can. He is the creator, so he can create anybody that's willing to be molded, anybody that's willing to be pliable in God's hand. He can make whatever pieces fit together that he wants, because he is the creator. And I've heard, and this has been secularly, but I've heard many people say that divorce is more painful than the death of a child. And this was a poll. And the reason that they said that it was more painful than which I can't even imagine either. But the reason that they said that, it was because that the divorce, they would have to keep reliving. And it seemed like it just could not close. That type of situation, it just had to keep reliving it. Whereas the death of the child, over time, you get some closure from that. Right. And again, I don't know what to say on that, but I saw that poll a number of times, and really, really, really profound to say that kind of pain. So God obviously is smarter than we are and does not want us to experience, either or both of us to experience that kind of agony.
Because you have that soul tie. You've
Yeah.
had that soul tie through intimacy.
Yeah.
You've had that soul tie through pretty much through intimacy, for emotional and physical.
Yeah.
And that's why, sometimes in marriage, marriage may not be unified. You may not be always unified. It may not always be joyous as a couple. It may not always be everything that you wish it to be. There are going to be times in your marriage where you're going to have those thoughts or whatever, and that you may not be getting the physical, the spiritual, or the emotional unity that you desire. But even in those times, I believe that there is still a development of a true soulmate, and because it's developing true intimacy. And as a man, the Bible sort of even says, so how do you deal with it when things are lacking? And it was in Ephesians, the 5th chapter, that basically says, however, and an amplified version says something like, basically, however, each man among you without exception is to love his wife as his very own self. So it's up to the man, when you're lacking some parts of intimacy, is that God commanded you to start that, because you're supposed to love your spouse as I don't go around slapping myself in the face every day, cutting myself,
Right.
Talking bad about myself. But I will, without exception, is to love my wife the same way that I love myself. Yeah. And the Amplify says, with behavior worthy of respect and esteem. So how do you get intimacy back? It's always seeking the best for her in an attitude of loving kindness. So a lot of times men will be like, oh man, she ain't doing this, she ain't doing that, or whatever. No, it's supposed to be your job to bring that intimacy back. Because once wife is given that teapot analogy, once you get that teapot going,
yeah,
it goes and goes and goes.
Right.
But a lot of times we don't want to accept the biblical responsibility that men have in getting that intimacy back. That's how you create your soulmate experience in your marriage.
Absolutely. That's awesome. I'm learning a lot today myself. So that's awesome. And I think that also women, we have a responsibility as well when it is with regard to creating that soulmate experience. Hi Stacy. Creating that soulmate experience. We need to definitely make sure that we hey Judith from Hawaii. I we was trying to be. Oh my gosh, we really were like this close. If I didn't have 2 things to do and he had the doctor's appointment, we'd be in Hawaii with you, girl. But anyways, but yes, creating that soulmate experience. Women, we do have a responsibility as well, because again, we just stated that the social term soulmate is not a biblical term. God gives us a choice, and when we have that choice within our marriage and within our relationship, and we choose that person at that time becomes our soulmate. And women, we have an opportunity to continue to serve and to minister and to love and to partner with our spouses in a way that could help them complete, because we are here. The reason that God gave Adam a wife, he said, okay, it's not good for Adam to be by himself. And we don't know all the reasons, but it had to be a number of reasons, because he's like, I'm going to make him help me, because he's not going to be able to do it by himself. He's not going to be able to do it by himself, period. Now, women, we could have did it by ourselves, I guess. I don't know. But he created man and said, I'm going to make him help me. And that help meet is us. So our part in our creating that soulmate dynamic is when we are becoming that help me, when we're helping them to see, first of all, what God has put inside of them. And when we're helping to push who they are in God and help them to be the best man that they can be, and be that support, and to be that platform, and to be that backup.
And that's good, because if you read Ephesians, that's exactly what the Bible says that a woman should do. And it's sort of interesting, because I just said the man is supposed to pursue her and to love her like his own body, but seeking the best for her, being worthy of respect and esteem. But he then turns around and said that the wife should delight in her husband. And we talked about that before, is that when a woman pours into the man, that even though the man is the conqueror, he's the provider, he's the one that goes out there, when he comes back, he needs to be refilled. And the Bible says that the woman's job is to pour
Mm-hmm.
into him. And that's pouring, it means a lot of things, but but he says that she notices him and prefers him and treats him with loving concern, treasuring and honoring. So really, when you're needing that intimacy for a woman, you have to pour back into your husband. You have to build him back up. You have to basically love all the crazy stuff off of him.
Yeah.
But that intimacy, that soulmate, because what we're saying is that we believe when you're married and you're a believer, you did marry the right one.
Yeah.
And you become soulmates because of your intimacy and your commitment through Christ in marriage. So a lot of times, if you're not getting that intimacy and you don't believe that you're being your soulmate, your roles could be reversed. I could be pouring into you. I could be doing all that things that's nice,
Mm-hmm.
but that's not what you desire. Because one, that might not be your love language. One, that's not biblically what you need.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you're out working every day and doing all these things, and then you come and you say say something, but it's not building me, then our lack of intimacy is probably because roles are reversed.
Wow.
So if you know how to start intimacy in a relationship, then that's how you become more intimate and become soulmates if you're lacking those things. Because basically the best reference is the Bible on what you need to do to get the intimacy back in your relationship.
Wow.
That's how you become better soulmates.
Wow, that's powerful. And I definitely believe, and I co-sign with all of that. Hey, Miss Alicia, joining us. We already did discuss a little bit ago how to vet your person that you are dating. How to vet that person and take them through the process of knowing whether or not that they're a good person or a good fit for your life. But we're talking about if the person that you're with is a good person for you, and did you marry the right person? Are you married to the wrong person? All of that kind of stuff. But whoever God has put together, let no man put asunder. Let no man put asunder. So you got to build your dynamic, and both of you have to be heartfelt committed to building that dynamic. If you got to pull and make and do all kinds of extra stuff to make this person be connected and committed to you, bye person,
So my question is, and then here's the opposite of that. So you did your vetting, may or may not did it good. You said, I'm going to marry this guy. This guy is 6'5", chiseled abs, good stuff. You get married. Now you just like, oh man, he picks his nose at night or whatever.
Right. He don't clean up after himself. He's dirty.
I married the wrong person. I've heard Christian people say,
yeah,
I married the wrong person.
Yeah.
What do I do? Can you, as believers, can you marry the wrong person? And I just said that if you're a believer, you got the right person because that's your soulmate. But is there a contradictory message to that? Can you marry the wrong person? Yeah, you can. Because what you said earlier about free will, and the only reason we say that is because the Bible says basically to trust in the Lord and with all your heart and lean not to your own understanding, but there are times in our lives when we lean to our own understandings. We lean to the physical aspects. We ignore the other signs. We ignore everything else that God has been putting and say, that may not be the one because there's there's something that we desire that we thought that we just needed to have. And that would be enough. So if you are in that part of your life or in that part of your marriage or relationship where there was more to that, and at that time I made a mistake because I was leaning to my own understanding. What do I do? How do I fix it?
Well, if you are in a situation where there is again, you have all of that stuff going on, the best thing that you can do, first of all, if the two of you still believe in the institution of marriage between that union, in your union, and again, that's choosing to be pliable and to be workable in God's hands.
Right.
I met a young man about a week or so ago, and he said when he first married his wife, and they were very young, probably in his 20s, and he said, when they first got married, it was horrible. He was like, it was the worst thing that he could have ever done. He said, but he kept praying and she kept praying, and they were just going to work at it because they believed in the institution of marriage, because they felt like they could work together to get it better. God began to do some great things in their marriage, in their relationship, and it did get better, and it's getting better and better. And that was his testimony, and which was amazing. That that relationship that he admitted initially was horrible, but it got better and better. And that's the same thing if you in a situation where you feel like, oh my God, I married this buffoon, or I married this chick and she is just like, what the world? Why did I do this? If you're in a place where you both are willing to come together and work on it, marriage requires work. Sometimes it's hard work, but sometimes it's really easy, but sometimes it's super hard. Right. You got to work on it. And if you work on it, God is fighting for you every day. Right. Every day he's fighting for you.
And that's the thing. Even if you feel or you think that you're not married to the right person, you know that you are married to the right person, which is God, because he's sovereign and he can fix any situation.
Oh yeah.
And like we said before, there, if you're being emotionally abused or physically abused, you have that option in adultery. But there are plenty of people who have married the right person. That person committed adultery and they still choose to move on and had a good relationship, or stayed together and worked through it.
And some of them had better relationships after that than they had before, because they were willing to, now they were broken. Right. So they were willing to allow God to put them back together and shape them and mold them to be the people that he wanted them to be.
Right. So God's sovereignty can be the healing power when things may not be going right. And because no matter what, God's desire is for you to be happy in marriage. He delights in it.
He does.
He enjoys it.
He wants you to have a good time.
Yeah, he wants you to have a great time. All the God could have made marriage to just be, not physical. He could have made sex to be not enjoyable, but that's not the type of God that he is.
That's right.
And so what we're challenging you today, and one thing that what happens is, don't let like I said, if you're considering soulmate, when you're having obstacles in your marriage, don't let your connection go other ways out. Like I said, when that issues are arising, or if it's not as good as it should be, that's not the time to have an emotional connection with somebody else. That's not the time to start talking to your coworker, to your best friend, or to somebody of the opposite and venting. Because what you can do is you can have an emotional affair and not have a physical affair.
Sorry.
And then start thinking, well, now this person is giving me some of the attention that I want and desire.
Right.
Maybe I didn't marry them. No, you've let your guard down. You let your fence down because you are desiring something. And sometimes, and a lot of that has to do with how you treat your spouse. Sometimes when you're desiring something, you still have to pour into that person.
Yeah.
The wife has to pour into the husband has to cover and honor his wife to get that relation and intimacy back on.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So.
Oh, okay. I was just looking at your next notes again. So, if you're in that point, and if you're in a place where, maybe you have been divorced, don't despair. God has somebody, and that's the desire of your heart. God has somebody for you. I am a firm believer that if you have a desire to be with someone, to have someone in relationship and to love someone, then God will bless you. It doesn't matter. I've seen so many people that across the board, that God will bless you with that person. But again, the myth and the fallacy is that marriage is something that does not require work to be, to have a great relationship. It requires taking time and really paying attention to each other, really loving, be loving and attentive, but also it really, because we're Christians and we believe in Christian beliefs, being before God, because he's going to tell you all the time. He's going to fill you up and tell you all the time who you are, because there will be times when there's like little underlying tension between you and your spouse, and you guys, it's like a cat on the line. You can't get it together. But if you're in the presence of God, he knows how to bring you together, because as my husband always says, it's that threefold cord, you and your spouse and God in the middle. He's consistently pulling you guys together, consistently tying you together. Right. So you just have to, make sure that you're in that place.
And I think I challenge you to think, if you have thought that have not married the right one,
Mm-hmm.
I challenge you to maybe change the way you think,
Yeah.
and think of God's sovereignty. His
Mm-hmm.
will for you is to give you the desires of your heart.
Yeah.
His will for you is to be blessed and to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that I really believe in, analogy that I like, is when he is presented as a potter.
Yeah.
He is the person that can put stuff back together again. And he loves to take two people, no matter how mismatched,
Mm-hmm.
how challenged, or whatever's going on in their lives. He loves, that's what he does.
Mm-hmm.
He takes them and he can put them and mold them back. So
Hey, Michelle McCoy.
whatever is imperfect
Yeah.
in our eyes, God can make perfect. But it takes you to be broken sometimes, and it takes you to be willing to let God's sovereignty rule.
Absolutely.
So instead of thinking, you know what, did I marry the right one or did I not marry the right one? You know what? Don't know. But I know that I desire to be in God's will. I desire to be happy. And then I know that God's sovereignty can put everything that I want in my marriage back together and make it great.
Absolutely.
Make marriage great again. You know?
Goodbye, Donald
he can
Trump.
do right. But that is the mindset that
Yeah.
we challenge you to have.
Yeah.
And instead of thinking that, you know what, no, I gotta find my soulmate. No, that is a trick.
Yeah.
But your soulmate is that one that you're married to right now.
Yeah.
And let God do the work.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But again, we go back to,
Mhm.
and we do digress.
Yeah.
If you can't make somebody stay with you that don't want to be with you.
That's
If
right.
that person want to leave you and
Yeah.
they just bent on leaving you, you know, after you pray and seek God, when God gives you that release, if he gives you that release, then so long.
Mhm. Yeah.
I mean, you can't make nobody stay. You
No.
can't make nobody stay, and you know, no use in staying in misery if that person doesn't want to stay. And like we mentioned before, like in the Will Smith clip that we showed, that you know, his former wife ended up leaving him, you know, divorcing him, you know, and he did not want that. He was not looking for that, but it happened. And you know, he ended up going on to a long and loving relationship with his current wife, as far as I know, as far as we know, and we all know and love him. So, you know, that's great. We love Will and Jada, you know what I'm saying? So
Right.
you know, God, he always has a plan. He always has a plan. He always you know, has your best interest at heart. And his first priority is to make sure that your marriage is healthy and loving and fulfilling. That is his first priority for you. He's always fighting for that. But we've got to do our part. Faith without works is dead. We got to make sure that we're doing things to make our marriage great, making each other's dreams come true, making it an active thing, and not just get stuck in a rut and just, you know, doing you know, the same old. Even though their routine, again, we've said in times past, routine is not altogether bad, but you know, routine is safe. But you want to continue to move forward and continue to really just seek God on ways to make your marriage and your relationship fulfilling, so that you are just beaming and you're happy and you see people rocking off into the beach and riding in the sunset. You're that person. Be that person. Be that couple.
One thing before we close, I wanted to talk about when we talked about vetting, and my wife gave all those analogies and examples, but I also believe that if you're walking with God, that's part of the vetting process.
It is.
Because if you're walking with him, he'll lead you and guide you to the person that is right for you. And if he leads you and guides you to the person that's right for you, then that is your soulmate.
Yep.
You know, that is the person that you can spend a lifetime with. And, you know, but leading us to our soulmate still takes work.
Yeah.
Because it takes submission both to your husband, to your wife, and also to God. And then, you know, one thing I think, and I read that being a soulmate is a position or a title, but it's also a practice. It's something that you have to work at, something you have to keep doing over and over again to get that connection.
Yeah.
Before you can just get that title. You know, it's more than just sex. It's more than that connection. It's that you have to work at it. A husband and wife are soulmates because in the Bible, you're one flesh.
Yeah.
Because you come together, that 1 + 1 = 1.
Yeah.
Or I also like to say 1 + 1 = 3, because it's me, you, and God.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the triunal, which is the same thing as the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost.
Yeah.
You know, is those things. So God desires that, but you have to work at it. You have to practice it, and you have to be one flesh spiritually.
Yeah.
You have to be one flesh emotionally.
Yeah.
And you have to be one fleshly or
Yeah,
and
naturally, yeah.
naturally. If you're not having sex regularly in your marriage, you need to work on that.
That's a
It's
big
hard to
work
be a
on. Yeah.
soulmate if you're not knocking that part out as
Right. You gotta knock that part out the park. Yeah.
But it's a practice and
Yeah.
it's a process.
Absolutely.
And
Hey, Ricardo.
and every day, it's a daily thing to get you to be that soulmate. So don't be tricked on the world's definition that there's just that one person out there out of a billion, because God is not that cruel.
Yeah.
But God loves you enough to give you the soulmate that you desire.
Absolutely. So listen, we're getting ready to wrap it up, but we want you to make sure, again, those of you that are single, make sure that you're using the vetting process. Vet that person that you're dating to make sure that that person is your soulmate. And just to kind of recap a few of the things that we said about that, making sure that you are, you do the airport test. If you feel like you can drop that person off at the airport and not miss them, that person is probably not the one that that your soul love it. That's for, you know what I'm saying? But if you really feel like you're gonna miss that person, if you're gonna drop them off at the airport and you'll never see them again, and you feel like, oh, I would just feel a void in my life, then that might be a person that may be for you. Also, compatibility. Is that person compatible with you? Does that person complement your best attributes, or do they bring you down? Those are things, and you can go back and watch the beginning of it that talks about all of the things that we need to do with a vetting process when you're dating somebody. And then knowing that you're married to the right person is the person that you're married to. They can become the right person, even if things don't feel right now. If they don't feel right now, if they don't look right now, God is able to make those things be what they need to be.
That's right. That's very good. So we appreciate you guys tuning in. Now we also promised that we're going to do a giveaway. So you are already entered. All you have to do to be entered in the giveaway and we're going to give away $50, another Cash App giveaway. So hopefully if you have a Cash App, that's the best way to get it to you. So go and download the Cash App. All you have to do is go or be following us either on Facebook or Instagram at What's Up Entertainment. Or go to YouTube at What's Up Video and sign up and subscribe. So if you watched this tonight while we were live and you have signed up and follow us on either Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube, we're going to go back, see who signed in, see who's following us, and then we're going to pick a winner and let you guys know on what's the first? What's today? So in like 3 days. 2 days. So
on the 31st we'll let you know.
On the 31st. So we'll pick a winner, another $50 Cash App giveaway, just to say thank you. Just to say thank you.
And if you want to just DM us your Cash App, you can go ahead and DM us. And if you're the winner, we'll already have it.
We'll already have it. So once again, we hope that this helps somebody. We hope that this bless somebody. If not, share it. Or if it has, share it with somebody that you love. Go back and watch it with your spouse, and hopefully the single part helps some of the single people how to vet. And we'll continue to do more stuff, and we finally think we've got everything situated to where we're getting a good broadcast and not cutting off. So we're going to do more polls. So keep watching.
Do more videos. We're going to be doing more videos. So
so keep following us on Facebook and Instagram at What's Up Entertainment. Follow us, and you can watch this again on Facebook, or you can also go to our YouTube channel, What's Up Video, and watch us or the other. I think this is episode 20, of everything that we talked about, love and relationship and marriage. Thank you, Stacy, Judas, everybody. There's
our Cash App. What's our Cash? Our Cash App. You don't need our Cash App. We want your Cash App.
We want your. We're gonna sow into you.
We're gonna sow into you guys.
Thank you, Stacy. Thank you, everybody, and we will see you guys next week. Please tell somebody to join us next week at 9:00. Please continue to send us stuff that you want to talk about.
Absolutely.
I want to hear about. Hopefully you enjoy this. This has been Frederick and Jean Watson. This is 11:60 seconds. Can someone, you can give to us, but right now we're giving to.
We're giving to you guys. We're giving to you. Yes, you can, but we're giving to you.
So we're excited. Can't wait to go back and watch and see who joined us so we can pick our winner. All right. God bless you.
Guys
See you
so
next
much.
week,
we love you all. Praying for you. Bye-bye.